Hello, creatives. My name is Matthias, known as that Matthias Kid on Instagram, or just TMK for short. I want to welcome everyone to Dreaming in Red by Heart's Cove, where dreaming means dreaming with energy, passion, strength, courage, and most importantly, creativity. We talk with creatives about the sacrifices they have made to reach their own success and look to inspire many others from all around the globe. So, as many of you know, today is the day after the Super Bowl. At the time of recording this, the Kansas City Chiefs are the Super Bowl champions. And obviously, Hearts Cove is a media publisher based out of Missouri, so another reason to celebrate. And in order to celebrate, we wanted to release 2 podcast episodes this week instead of just one. So you'll probably be hearing this one on a Thursday or on a Friday, as well as the one that released on Monday. So on top of that, I'm joined today by a good homie of mine who I grew up with here in Missouri, Mr. Howard Nunnelly. Hello.
Yo, what's up, Matthias?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing good, bro. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to have you on here. So if you want to tell us a little bit about kind of where you're at now in life and explain, how you got there, just a brief.
Yes, so I've been living in Nashville for coming up on 4 years. I grew up in Joplin, Missouri. Did some work with Matthias back in our early days,
Back in our
and
primes.
that's right. And yeah, we met playing. I was playing drums for this artist, J Thrill. Good old Jake, loved that guy. And Matthias was shooting, and learned so much on that gig. And yeah, kind of shortly after high school, moved to Nashville, and I've just been, trying to make it happen and playing wherever I can. In the past about 7 or 8 months, I've been with this artist named Ella Langley. Um, she's an incredible country singer, and we just been hitting the road and playing some cool shows. So that's been about it.
Yeah, I mean, and so for people who don't know, Howard is a drummer. I don't think we've mentioned that before. Everyone's just kind of
Oh,
like,
oops!
wait, playing,
I'm
what's
just a
talking about?
dude.
Yeah. No, he's a drummer, and he's not a photographer, so this will be the first episode, not including a photographer, but another sort of creative. Um, and yeah, he's drumming for Ella Langley, like you said, for the past 7-8 months. And I don't know. Today, I just wanted to talk to him, and like we said earlier, I've kind of like known him for a long time, and getting to work with him back before I was making anything out of the ordinary, out of the box, creative when I first kind of was starting. If I remember correctly, I think we graduated the same year. So that I remember that year that I graduated, I did my first so-called senior model program, and he was also one of the
Yeah,
people that were on my very first ever senior model program.
dude. Yeah, those photos were awesome.
Yeah, and that's crazy because at the time I was like, these are so good, but like obviously now you see yourself, you see the things that you've done, and you kind of just like can't look at him and take him serious, compared to the work that you've kind of grown to be and to do. But yeah, that's how I've known Howard. I grew up in a town called Neosho, but not too far away from Joplin. It was about like 15-20 minutes drive, and I kind of got to know him that way, working with like you said, the good old Jake. But yeah, I wanted to talk to Howard today and just kind of break it down a little bit and have him explain how it's been and him doing music, and maybe for any other musicians or people that want to get into the music life. I know there's a few that I've spoke with in the past few weeks. Tell us about how you even picked up wanting to do music or play drums as a whole.
Yeah, so pretty much my whole life I've been around music because my dad has been in radio. He's been a programmer, DJ since I was born. So it's just kind of innate. I was always around it, and I remember this one day when I was probably like 6 or 7. We went to this church, and I saw the band up there, and I'm like, "Dang, those are the coolest guys ever!" Like, I want to do that. I want to play guitar, and so that was kind of my thing. Like, I wanted to play guitar, but for some reason, I just noticed like I'd be tapping on stuff all the time. So when I was like 8, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna ask for a drum set for Christmas." And my parents gave in for some reason, and for like 10 years they put up with me playing loud drums in the house and stuff. And I just fell in love with it, and started playing at church when I was a kid, and that's really where I learned most of what I know is playing with other musicians from a
Right.
young age. That kind of taught me more than lessons ever did. And then I started playing when I was in middle school with an artist, Grant Landis, who's still like my best friend. Um, and we did so much together over the years, and we kind of moved to Nashville around the same time, and did some stuff here as well. And then, yeah, played with J Thrill when I was in high school. Um, you know, just doing the gig thing. That was an awesome time. Then I graduated high school and kind of had no idea what I was going to do with my life. And I feel like God opened up some cool doors um, for me to be able to move to Nashville. Um, and yeah, I just decided like I feel like drums actually could be like a viable career.
Right.
Um, and so I kind of just took the leap and wanted to see what would happen. So
So
yeah.
why would you say, like, why Nashville? Was there a specific reason, or was it just because your best friend was there, or was there something about Nashville that you wanted to try out?
Yeah, so Nashville actually was the like literally the last place I would say I wanted to go. Um, because I really wanted to I before I'd made decisions that were kind of for other people, and I really wanted to make a decision for my future that was like about me,
Mm-hmm.
and something I wanted to do. And I'm like, "Pfft, Nashville, nah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Um, but I went to visit Grant one time and played a couple shows with him. And I met people here, and they'd be like, "Oh, Howard, you got to move to Nashville. Like, you'd love it. We can get you some gigs and stuff." And I'm like, "Nah, nah, nah, nah." And eventually, this guitarist I knew, he was like, "Hey, Howard, like for real, my roommate's moving out. So if you like ever did want to move to Nashville, like I got a place for you to live. Super cool house, like rent's pretty cheap."
Mm-hmm.
And when he said that, for some reason in my mind, it just became more real. Like, oh wait, I could like actually go try to make like playing drums like happen. And
Right.
yeah, Nashville, it became a place where I already had some connections. So it'd be a bit easier for me to uh, try to go and make it happen versus like LA. I know like literally nobody.
Right.
Yeah, so it was really just I developed some relationships here, and that helped me to kind of plant my feet.
Right. And I think even in the last two episodes, I'll go back to this because I want to emphasize how important it is again to build relationships, to kind of go out and meet new people in order to make connections. Because here we go, we have another example, very good example of how important it is to, if you're in the creative field, to have connections and to make relationships with people that maybe are in different places or online, and that way you kind of have options and uh, different things to go to if you so one day decide to maybe move somewhere or look for opportunity somewhere else. Howard is another prime example of that. We've been preaching that in the past two episodes, kind of to the listeners, to go out and kind of make connections and not be afraid to meet new people, because like you're hearing Howard say again, like it's another big thing to be able to go to a place like that and have somebody that you met or that you connected with, provide an opportunity like that and say, well, if you ever want to stay, like I got a place here that you're welcome to stay at, and that kind of helps you with not even just the moving process, but creatively it'll provide different opportunities, knowing different people from other places. And again, I just wanted to quickly reiterate that it's very, very important for any creatives in any sort of creative field to branch out of their comfort zone and maybe meet new people at whatever show they're shooting or wherever they are, and kind of get to know different faces, and even if they're not from your own town. So very important. What do you think, as far as creative inspiration kind of like inspired you to, once arriving to Nashville, to like, I don't know, keep pursuing that music? Did you know you wanted to keep pursuing music like after you graduated high school, or were you just kind of moving there and kind of seeing what was opening up, what was happening?
My original career plan was actually to be a mixing engineer because I didn't think that like playing drums could be a viable career option. It kind of just seemed like a little bit of a dream world fantasy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then once I started to visit here, I started to see other musicians that were doing what I had dreamed of as a kid. And I'm like, oh, whoa, this is like a possibility. And then I started playing with people, that on gigs that also played with artists that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, whoa, I'm kind of getting immersed in this world that I never thought was kind of possible. So I would say kind of the thing that kept me going is knowing that like I'm such a small part of like what goes on here in Nashville, the music industry
Right.
or whatever, that like there's so many possibilities and so many different things I can do and so much I want to accomplish. Like I've been here for 4 years and I barely scratched the surface
Yeah.
of like what the possibilities are, you know. So I would say that's been a big motivator is just
Right.
like what can I possibly do or achieve.
And I think still, like, even now after the time that you've lived there, I think in the back of your mind, I'm sure that you still, like, you can see the horizon. You can kind of see that the opportunities are there. You can kind of see that they're achievable, and it's no longer like, I feel like you no longer feel like, oh, I don't think I can make anything out of this. I don't think drumming is something that I can pursue. Like, I feel like now it's on the horizon and you're able to see it. And now it's all about like the right opportunity, the right time to maybe capture it, to go, to go try to look to achieve it. And it's a different mindset now, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the past year has been when I've kind of started to see some of this come to fruition, and I've started to see like, oh, hey, this can be like a full time job, like it kind of keep me on my feet,
Right.
um, and yeah, the past 7 or 8 months I've played like literally the coolest shows of my life, and that's kind of kept me like it's kept me going and be like, wow, this is really what I want to do.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll talk about that for a little bit as well. So you've played for an artist, country artist, Ella Langley. If people listening are big country fans, she has been featured in Spotify's new hot country artist to watch for 2023. So she is a fantastic artist. I'm not really a massive country fan, but you really can't take it away. When an artist is a good artist, they're a good artist. That's kind of how it is, you know. And Howard here has been on tour and has been playing shows with her, like he mentioned, for the past 7, 8 months. So, if you would you like to tell us kind of how that happened, how you met, how that opportunity came about?
Yeah, so I'm constantly reminded how small the world is, and how like I'll meet somebody and then years later that little relationship will turn into something else, and I'll meet
Mm-hmm.
somebody else from all these little tiny connections, which goes back to what you were talking about with relationships. Like that kind of has to be the most important thing in whatever field you're in, whatever craft. I mean, especially in the creative world,
Mm-hmm.
like relationships are the foundation of everything. And you know, I played with a guitarist one time named Jake Garner, incredible musician, such a cool guy. He plays guitar uh, for Riley Green, this country artist,
Right.
and there's some crossover in management with Riley and Ella, and so when they were looking for a drummer for her, um, Jake just threw my name out because he's gotten me some gigs before and stuff, and they just like really needed somebody fast, so I didn't even audition, which
Mm-hmm.
was like kind of funny, and just went to the rehearsal, and it just really clicked,
Right.
and yeah, it kind of went from there. So yeah, I just got that from a friendship I had with somebody.
Interesting, and exactly another, like we mentioned prior, like having those connections, having, meeting people, making relationships with different creatives around you, like provide you opportunities like this. Um, By the way, if people don't know or haven't seen Howard either live at a show or been able to hear him do his thing, I was fortunate enough to, like you said, we kind of did little shows, and I was taking photos for Jake while he was the drummer. So I've been fortunate enough to actually see him do his thing live and in rehearsals and in practice and shooting music videos and everything pretty much. So I've kind of been around and known Howard for a while and known what he does. Howard is a very talented, very, very talented drummer. So on top of him having the right connections and making the right friendships. Like he's got the talent to back it up. He's very, very talented. So if you haven't yet, make sure you guys go check him out, and we'll plug his socials at the end of this podcast episode. But just wanted to quickly throw that out there. He's a very talented dude. Howard, what do you think is one of the things that, and we don't really do this too often, so I'm asking because I kind of want to hear it from you. We don't really get to compliment ourselves or like really spend much time in our lives to kind of like toot our own horn, but what do you think is one of the things that you would say that you're best at, or that is one of your best traits?
Ooh. Oh man.
Or that maybe people know you
my worst
as
fear. I'm kidding. Um okay. That's a good question. I guess I would say musically. Um I would say my biggest strength is timing,
Mhm.
because especially with like music today, it's really important to be able to play with a click, or like a metronome.
Right.
It's kind of what like the band is always on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I would say that's my biggest strength, is like keeping time, because as a drummer, you're like the train conductor, in a sense. Like if you're not on, nobody else is really gonna be able
Oh,
to
yeah.
stay on. It's gonna throw everything off. Um, so yeah, I would say like as a musician, that's
Got
my
you.
biggest plus. And then what I've found has worked for me, like personally, is just like staying positive.
Mhm.
Especially like when if you're on the road, or whatever, setting up for shows, and things go wrong, because inevitably stuff will always go wrong. Um, whether that's with sound, or literally anything. If I found that like if I'm just positive, about whatever situation it is, and can maybe make light of it, yeah, or just generally have some hope,
Mhm.
that goes a long way. Because if you're getting really easily upset about things, that can kind of tank everybody else's attitude. So just having a positive demeanor can go a long way, and keeping everybody else um, kind of at peace.
Right, and especially in a environment like you're in, where it's not just you. Whereas photographers or content creators, most of the time, and I don't say all the time, but most of the time, it's you and the model doing something creative, or doing a shoot, or you and the artist doing concert photos. But in an environment like yours, where there is, I don't know how many people around you, whether it be crew, people setting up, your fellow band, um, seeing somebody that like maybe has been having a rough day, or is down for the day, and then it kind of, like you said, it does kind of like rub off, even without it wanting to. Like I feel like people just naturally have that, where they see somebody's like not really in it, and it kind of like, it just kind of shows, and it kind of rubs off on everyone else in the group. And so yeah, that's a very, very good advice, because I think, especially if you're looking at something that is more group based, and you're around more people, that in order to make your job or your task come to fruition, it's very important to be able to see the positives and the good things instead of the bad things, or even if there is bad things, to kind of just like pick and choose the good things, and worry about the bad things later on, maybe when you have more time to sit and reflect.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
What do you think, as far as touring and being able to put on different shows in different places in the US, has been maybe an experience that you haven't had an experience before, and you were like, wow, this is so cool? Like any like certain situation, any certain time that you want to tell us about, or anything that you just kind of like stopped and were like, dude, I'm actually doing this right now, like it's sick.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, I definitely have some moments there. Um, okay, so I mean, being out with Ella, this is my first kind of touring gig I've
Mm-hmm.
had since I've been here. So I'm learning so much, and a couple guys in our camp are pretty like veteran musicians, and have done a whole lot of touring. So I've been able to learn a lot from them, and moments I've had that are like, oh gosh, this is real. Our we played a few like arenas,
Nice.
and kind of once you're like in the room and you're playing, I'm like playing my kit like before everybody gets there, and it's just you can hear like how big the echo is.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, like this is a lot of responsibility. And yeah, it's like moments like that where I'll be in a room, or then watch how people in the room are responding to like what we're playing. Like if they're rocking out or like have a smile on their face, it's like it's super super rewarding, you
Right.
know. Um, yeah,
It must be cool to know that like so many people are in one room for the same person, watch the same people, and like you are part of making that person's night. Like they go there to have a good time, to see an artist that they're big fans of, and you're part of that group, you're part of that musician team, and it must feel nice to like know that like all those people that are there and attending in order to have a good night, like you're able to contribute to make them feel a little bit better for the night, or to help them have a good show. Like you're part of that, and I think I just think that must feel like super insane.
yeah. I mean, dude. I feel like the theme of the day is like human connection and relationships,
Mm-hmm.
because then when you get into that, you have like m- me as a musician, like my relationship with people in the audience,
Right.
right? It's like it's kind of this um, shared experience of like I'm giving them something, right? They're also giving me something,
Exactly.
and then the relationship on stage with musicians, and then the relationship like the musicians have with the whoever's doing front of house, like running sound.
Right.
It's like it's all very communal. Um, it's like nobody's just receiving anything.
Right.
Everybody's giving. You know.
It's kind of like, and that must be an even better feeling, because on top of what I said, now it's like you're not just providing for the audience, but you're also like the audience providing for you, and it's kind of like a back and forth thing where once that happens, it's just a insane, crazy feeling, because it's like what else do you want to get out of that other than like joy from what you're doing, and then joy from seeing people enjoy what you're doing,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm gonna kind of like talk about one time that I met somebody, and this is again to kind of emphasize and focus more on making human connections and making right relationships. I got to shoot for one of my favorite artists recently, at the end of last year. I'm not sure if you know, his name is Role Model, and he is an insane, incredible performer. Um, and I had always been listening to his music before, and getting to shoot for him was just insane to me. And I could sometimes I just like can't believe that I'm like right there, like inches away from people that I listen to on Spotify, and it's like still like to this day, no matter what show I go to, no matter who I shoot, it's still like I get that little surreal feeling every time that I'm shooting,
Mm.
because to think about like how I was literally just a middle school kid taking photos on my iPhone at one point in my life, never thought that
Yeah.
I would be able to do anything like that. And um anyways, yeah, I shot for him, and after the show I was able to meet him and kind of chat with him for a little bit. And one of the things that I will always remember about him, and just people in general that have the ability to do this, is like having the time and I guess being kind enough to listen to what you have to say, and then just kind of like forgetting how much fame they have, or how where they are in life, and compared to you, because I feel like a lot of people maybe subconsciously or consciously like do that, and they kind of like compare them to you, and it's like, well, why should I waste my time talking to you, kind of thing. So getting to speak to him was insane, because like I sat there, and I actually got to talk to him for like a solid, I want to say like 10-12 minutes, and it may seem like very short, but like whenever you're meeting an artist like that, it's like they don't have much time, especially if they're going on a worldwide tour, and after the show people are tired, people are ready to get on the bus, sleep maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
And he has to be like one of the kindest people that I've ever met. And it just kind of reiterated to me like, dude, people are just human, you know, and it's like sometimes they are exactly how you see them on social media, or sometimes they're
Right.
not. There's been other like experiences that haven't been as cool as this one, that maybe have been on the negative side. But role model, I just wanted to say that like the experience that I got to like just shoot him and be able to meet him afterwards, like he is definitely a person that I respect even more now because of how, you know, how kind he was and how willing he was to not just me but like other people that he was also, you know, taking photos with and meeting then. um so yeah, just having that connection with your fans and with people that, you know, maybe are inspired by you can go a long way. And this goes for anybody, like for you, for me, maybe people look up to me, maybe people look up to Howard. Like being able to share that with the world and share that with people that are listening is a big part, because like I said, it inspired me, so I'm sure that it can inspire other people, you know, be just being that person that's like kind enough to take time out of their day to, you know, speak to you or to listen to what you have to say.
Hmm. Dude, yeah, that's an incredible experience. Super happy to hear that.
Yeah, I was 100%. And so I just think that, you know, it all goes back to that main topic that we've been talking about, is building relationships and being able to talk to people that, you know, you never know where these people are from or where they can get, like where they can give you the opportunities, like you said, with how you even got started here with Ella. Like, you know, did you even know Ella before this, like before actually getting offered to go on tour and be her drummer? Like, had you listened to her, had you known her? And this is like, you're gonna out yourself if you didn't.
Oh no, I'm outing myself. I know, I actually didn't. No, I'd never heard. It's funny because like we had a couple rehearsals, and then I was telling a friend of mine like, oh yeah, I'm going out with this artist Ella Langley. He's like, oh wait, uh, is this her? And he like, pulled up his Spotify playlist and had like some of her songs in there. I'm like, oh okay, okay, yeah, okay, this is real.
Yeah,
Uh, no, but like from the moment I heard Ella's stuff, I was like sold.
right.
Like, oh yeah, this is incredible and like something I have so much fun playing.
Yeah, exactly. And so your plan as of now is, you still planning, like, are you still in touch with her? You're still her drummer and stuff like that?
Yep. And we got some really cool stuff planned for the year. I can't
That's
say
great.
what it is exactly, or else I'd get in trouble
Right.
because it's not announced yet. But it will be really cool, and we might be playing some stuff around Joplin, Missouri
Hmm.
area, somewhere in the four states. So you should come out and see
There you
once
go.
it's announced.
If anybody's listening, and you know, once that's announced, once it's released, and we have more information, if you guys are inspired by this podcast episode, or just want to meet Howard and say what's up, he's letting us know now that he'll be around the four states area. With more information obviously to come once the information is released, but you have a chance to check it out, to stop by and see him do his thing, see Ella do her thing, and I know obviously I'll be there, and I'm excited to watch Howard do his thing as well. Um, I want to ask you something that's something that I ask everybody, and I try to ask everybody and keep it a consistent question all around, because I want to know what exactly is something that you would tell yourself, your younger self, um, with the experiences that you've been through now, with things that you've accomplished, looking back at life and just kind of seeing how far you've come. What is one thing that you would say to your younger self, as words of advice to kind of encourage, um, you know?
Ooh, that's a big question. Um, Man, to younger Howard, I would probably say something to the effect of like you don't have to worry as much as you think about what people think about you. Yeah, I don't know. When I was young, I was so caught up in like the tiny little details of what everybody thought about what I was
Mm,
wearing, or what I was saying, or everything like that. So yeah, for little Howard, I would definitely say like I think that would help relieve some of his anxiety around what people think.
right. And the reason I ask that is because for us, for people that are on the podcast speaking, it may just be like, okay, I've experienced so many things and gone through so many situations in my life, ups and downs, to where it puts me at this point where I'm able to say this to my younger self and able to tell them, hey, like, don't worry about the that much, things that people are saying about you. But for listeners who may just be starting, this advice that you would give your younger self is seen and taken as advice for them as well, because it's like, okay, well, I'm just stepping into this field, kind of like he was when he was young, right?
Yeah.
So the advice that I look to get out of people is advice to people that maybe are starting, that maybe want to get into it, or maybe people that just are at a spot in their life where they just need some sort of inspiration, or maybe they've been doing it for a while and they're just kind of stuck for now.
Yeah.
And so I'm always looking to inspire different people through myself, if possible, and then obviously through everybody on this podcast.
Yeah. Can I give one more?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. I guess this would be to like more of a musical thing for
Right.
younger me. Is and I guess just anybody trying to get better at
Mhm.
whatever their craft is like get around people who are better than you. If it's a little bit better, if they know like something, one tiny thing about something you don't, or if they're leaps and bounds better, like
Mhm.
that is kind of that's how you grow and learn, is just being around people that are better than you. Even if it can be a little like intimidating or even make you jealous sometimes. Like
Right.
why am I not like that? Or why don't I have that kind of status or something? Um, but it's really important, and you can learn and grow so much from doing that.
Yeah, I agree with that statement 100%. And I think that that is one of the things, that might be one of the most important things for up and coming creatives, or people not necessarily up and coming, but people that are looking to be better at their craft. Being around and putting yourself in situations and in circumstances where you're around people that are better than you. And I've had this issue and I've had this problem, and I've spoke about this topic many times with different people. Sometimes, and what I've noticed, at least here in this area, is that people don't do that because people don't like to admit that there's someone better than them, and it's tough as a creator or as a creative in general to kind of put your ego aside sometimes and say, okay, well, this person is better than me at this craft. But that's exactly what you need to do if you're looking to improve your craft and get better, because you're not going to get better by staying in the same spot and surrounding yourself with people that or that you feel you're better than. So like Howard said, just being around people that are are better than you, and maybe you just don't want to admit it, or maybe just it's like an ego thing where you just can't, but like, be around them, learn from them. It's things that will help you just going into the long run. I know for myself, I know that there's people that I look up to and people that I am inspired by, and then I'll have like other photographers come up to me and tell me that I inspire them, which by the way is like has to be the coolest feeling ever, to know that I can
Wow.
inspire anybody, just anybody as a whole. Because again, that's the whole purpose of this podcast, of everything that I do, is to inspire different people to start doing what they love, or to maybe do photography in a more creative way, to look at things in a different way. But yeah, even I like have to stop myself and say, well, this person is way better than me, and I should step aside and like maybe see if there's places or times when I can meet up with them and just kind of pick their brain, just chat, and it always helps to do that.
Yeah, dude, and you know something else is like, even people that are great at what they do but aren't drummers have been some of the people I've learned from the most.
Mm-hmm.
Like my friend Peyton Dollar,
Right.
who's also a photographer. I've learned so much from him, and he's kind of helped me to see like the crossover between crafts, like drumming and
Yes.
photography and painting or playing guitar, like whatever it is, it's a different medium, but it's like it's the same foundations apply,
Right.
So like, yeah, you can also learn so much from people that don't do exactly what you do but are also just creatives. Like I've learned a ton from you as well, like seeing your work, um, and from back in the day when we used to shoot together and stuff. That was like, those were also like formative experiences
Right.
for me as well. So,
Hey, well, like I said, at the end of the day, that is what all of this is for. I have no other reason to start any of this, whether it be Heartscope, whether it be my own personal things, whether it be this podcast. There's no other reason on earth other than to look to inspire and to provide inspiration through the guests that I bring on, through the work that we do at Hearts Cove. It's all in hopes and trying to inspire people that want to get into the creative field, that want to maybe need that little extra push every so often. And that's what this is for. And so to kind of wrap it up, I want to ask you one more question and kind of know one of your most proudest moments. I know you kind of touched one in the touring sense when you told us about the being able to just warm up in an empty arena and having that kind of, you know, you take that in. Is there anything outside of music, or maybe it could be with music, that you think has been one of the proudest moments, accomplishments of your life thus far, other than that?
let's see. I would say, yeah, okay. There is um there is one thing that I think of, and it is music related. Um, but you obviously you'd remember old Nate Vanio.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in high school, Nate and I like recorded this album together, and like we were so proud of it. We are still very proud of it. And it was like such a good time, and we spent such a long time like writing and working on it and just like trying to make it the best it could be. Um, and probably like a couple years after we put it out, um, somebody sent us a message on Instagram, like somebody that we don't know, and talked about how like she'd been in this really like tough season of life, and like she'd came across this album we put out, and she was talking about how like she found that it had like led her closer to God in this time that she just really been struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, like when I read that message, it was just like even if like one person had ever just heard what we did, like it was worth it right then
Right.
to hear that. Um, and it kind of reminded me like it doesn't matter if 5 people hear what you do or if like 5 million hear or see it. Like as long as somebody is like touched or moved by what you're doing, then it is like all
It's all worth it.
100% worth it. Yeah,
As long as one person is inspired.
exactly.
Um, yeah, very good information. I think this podcast episode has been the most informative out of any ones that I've recorded so far. So that's going to be really good for everyone listening. Also the most I think inspiring, and it was good to be able to sit and speak to Howard and kind of catch up. This is also like my first time uh in a while. I've messaged him and kind of talked with him briefly over the time that he's been in Nashville and no longer here, but this is our first like actual sit down and kind of talk. And so I'm catching up just as much as everyone else is while listening to this. So to end the podcast, Howard, I want to know, obviously the idea behind Dreaming in Red is to push people to dream with intent, with passion, with creativity. That's what the color red symbolizes for us. Um, so while you're on this podcast, I want to know, what are some of the dreams that you have for this year to accomplish? Some of the ones that you want to dream with intent and passion for, or goals that you want to accomplish in 2023?
Hmm. Yeah, so I'm hoping either like this year or next year it'll be able to happen. I'd love to play at the Walmart Amp
Mm-hmm.
in Rogers, 'cause that's where I grew up going to shows,
Right.
and that's like my favorite place ever. And I think that would be such like a full circle moment. And that's where I've been inspired so much by people. And when I like I saw Machine Gun Kelly there, Goo Goo Dolls, and a ton of people. But those shows, I was like, oh my gosh, like being there, I'm
Mm-hmm.
always reminded like why I love music. So I think to play there would be such a such an awesome moment. But since I'm not like a manager, it's not like I have like control over that, So
Yeah.
I think it'll happen sometime over the next year or two.
I definitely can see that happening, and I understand 100% for us locals or semi-locals to what he's talking about. That is probably from Joplin, Missouri. That is probably the closest like big event center. And then we have like places like actual downtown Kansas City and Tulsa that have like big theaters and event centers like that. So that is probably the closest one that we have, and I know going to shows there has always been really cool, and I can't imagine what it must like feel like once you actually accomplish that, to be able to be on that stage that you used to be in the crowd for. That's gonna be feel like a super insane like full circle moment for you. And I'm cheering you on along the way, and so is everyone else here at Hearts Cove. Anybody that we bring onto this podcast that we're inspired by, we want to be able to see them reach whatever goals they have for themselves and accomplish them. Even on my end, just outside of Hearts Cove, you know that I'm always there to listen, to help out in any way that I can. Meeting people like that are in the creative field and just good friends in general is a good thing to have. And so even on my end, I'm always there, to help in any way that I can if there's anything that you ever need. So I appreciate your time and talking to us and kind of inspiring a few different people today. So like I said, this will be the episode releasing probably on a Thursday or Friday of this week. Second episode to celebrate the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. Howard, any last words? And on top of that, please plug your social media so that people can check you out.
And well, first, yeah, this is seriously such an honor to be on and talk with you. Seriously, great time. Um, and yeah, just stay passionate. Remember why you started doing what you do. Like the root of it is that you
Mm-hmm.
love um, art. So whoever's listening, just keep going. Stay passionate. And my socials, pretty much like Instagram is kind of the main thing I use. It's just at Howard Nunnelly, HowardNunnelly.
There you have it. Please go make sure after you get done with this episode to follow Howard. Feel free to message him. Let him know if you got inspired by anything he said. If you want to let him know, feel free to message him. I'm sure he wouldn't mind that at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And make sure you guys go check him out. Check out the podcast on YouTube, because we will be having the YouTube version of this podcast as well. If you want to see kind of some photos while we're talking about what we were talking about today, it'll be available on YouTube on the same day, probably as we speak now. When you're listening to this, it's on YouTube. So go check it out. You can see some of the photos of him performing, some of the behind the scenes stuff happening while he's on tour. Make sure to follow Hearts Cove. It is just at Hearts Cove XO on Instagram. We want to be able to share creatives and inspire creatives every single day. So go give that a follow. It's just at that Matthias kid if you guys want to follow me personally. And that is it. I am glad that we got to speak to Howard. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys don't forget to leave a review on Spotify. I think I have to listen to a full episode. So once you're done listening to this, if you could drop a review on Spotify, let us know what you thought. Rate us from 1 to 5 stars. And honestly, rate us, because honestly, I don't want to sit here and say, yo, rate us 5 stars if you guys think our show is a 3-star show. We want to be able to improve. We want to be able to take things and take constructive criticism and apply that to our show to be able to improve things. So rate us honestly what you think this podcast show is. And that'll be it for Dreaming in Red. Howard, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Peace out, guys.